In 216 BCE, on the scorching plains near Cannae in southern Italy, Rome faced a disaster so devastating that it shook the foundations of the Republic. Confident in its strength, Rome had assembled one of the largest armies in its history, determined to crush the invader who had been ravaging Italy for years. By sunset, that army was gone. Tens of thousands of Roman soldiers lay dead. Senators, commanders, and experienced veterans were wiped out in a single day. Ancient accounts describe the scale of slaughter as almost unimaginable. It was not just a defeat, it was a collapse. The man responsible was not Roman. He was Hannibal Barca, a general from Carthage, one of the most brilliant and dangerous military minds the world has ever seen. A rivalry forged in war. To understand Hannibal, you must understand the rivalry that shaped him. In the Western Mediterranean, two powers stood on a collision course, Rome and Carthage. Rome was a rising republic, expanding across the Italian peninsula with disciplined citizen armies and a strong political system. Carthage, on the other hand, was a wealthy maritime empire based in North Africa, dominating trade routes and relying on diverse mercenary forces. The First Punic War 264-241 BS had already brought these two giants into conflict. After years of brutal fighting, Rome emerged victorious. Carthage lost key territories and was forced to pay heavy reparations. But more importantly, it lost pride. Out of that defeat rose a family determined to restore Carthage's power, the Barcids. The making of Hannibal. Hannibal was born into this world of defeat and resentment. His father, Hannibal Barca, was a seasoned general who shifted Carthage's focus to Iberia, building a new base of power rich in resources and manpower. According to later historians, Hamilcar made young Hannibal swear eternal hostility toward Rome. Whether that moment happened exactly as described or not, one thing is certain: Hannibal grew up preparing for war. He was not just trained as a soldier, he was shaped into a commander. By his mid-20s, after the death of his brother-in-law Hasdrubal, Hannibal was chosen by the army to lead. Young, bold, and already experienced, he wasted no time. In 219 BCE, he attacked Saguntum, a city allied with Rome. Its fall triggered the Second Punic War, a conflict that would push Rome to the brink of destruction. The unthinkable strategy. Rome expected war. But it expected it on its terms. Hannibal had other plans. Instead of attacking by sea, where Rome was strong, he chose a route that seemed impossible. He would invade Italy by land. In 218 BCE, Hannibal set out from Iberia with tens of thousands of soldiers, cavalry, and even war elephants. He marched through hostile territory, crossed the Pyrenees, and then faced his greatest challenge, the Alps. The crossing was brutal. Freezing temperatures, landslides, and attacks from mountain tribes devastated his army. Thousands died. Many elephants were lost. But Hannibal did something no one thought possible. He crossed the Alps. And suddenly, Rome was not fighting a distant enemy, it was facing a battle-hardened army on its own soil. A master of war. What followed was a campaign of calculated brilliance. At the Battle of the Trebia, Hannibal lured Roman forces into attacking under unfavorable conditions, then struck with hidden troops at the perfect moment. At Lake Trasimene, he executed one of the largest ambushes in ancient history, trapping a Roman army between hills and water. The result was chaos and destruction. These were not lucky victories. They revealed a commander who understood terrain, timing, and psychology better than his opponents. Hannibal didn't just fight battles, he controlled them. He forced Rome to play his game. Rome's fear and a new strategy. After repeated defeats, panic spread through Rome. For the first time in years, the Republic appointed a dictator, Quintus Fabius Maximus. Fabius understood what others refused to accept: Hannibal could not be beaten in open battle. So he avoided it. Instead, he followed Hannibal, disrupted supplies, and refused direct confrontation. This cautious approach earned him criticism and the nickname the Delayer. But it kept Rome alive. Still, many Romans saw this as weakness. They wanted victory. And that desire would lead them straight into disaster. The trap at Cannae. In 216 BCE, Rome abandoned caution and assembled a massive army to finally destroy Hannibal. The two forces met near Cannae. Hannibal's army was smaller but far more experienced. He arranged his troops in a formation that looked vulnerable at the center. As the battle began, Roman forces pushed forward, believing they were breaking through. They weren't. It was a trap. As the Roman infantry advanced, Hannibal's center slowly bent inward, pulling them deeper into a tightening pocket. At the same time, his cavalry defeated Roman horsemen on the flanks and attacked from behind. Then came the final move. Hannibal's elite troops closed in from the sides. The Romans were surrounded. What followed was slaughter. By the end of the day, one of Rome's greatest armies had been completely annihilated. The maneuver, a double envelopment, remains one of the most studied battlefield tactics in history. Why Rome didn't collapse? After Cannae, Rome stood on the edge of destruction. Several cities defected, allies wavered. Even foreign powers began to side with Carthage. But Rome did not surrender. Instead, it adapted. The Senate refused to negotiate peace. New armies were raised, even from slaves and young boys. The Fabian strategy returned, avoiding major battles and slowly wearing Hannibal down. This was the turning point. Hannibal had won stunning victories, but he could not break Rome's political system or its network of alliances. Many of Rome's allies remained loyal, and that loyalty proved stronger than fear. Rome was not just a military power, it was a system built to survive. The war turns. While Hannibal remained in Italy, the wider war shifted. In Spain, Roman forces began dismantling Carthaginian power. Under the leadership of Publius Cornelius Scipio, Rome captured key territories and cut off Hannibal's reinforcements. Then, Scipio made a bold move. He took the war to Carthage. In 204 BCE, he invaded North Africa, forcing Carthage to defend its own homeland. With the support of Numidian allies, Rome gained a crucial advantage in cavalry. Carthage had no choice. Hannibal was recalled. The final battle, Zama. In 202 BC, Hannibal and Scipio finally faced each other near Zama. This was the moment that would decide everything. Hannibal attempted to use war elephants to break Roman lines, but Scipio adapted, creating gaps that neutralized the attack. The battle turned into a brutal infantry clash. Then, just like at Cannae, but in reverse, cavalry returned to strike from the rear. Hannibal's army collapsed. For the first time, he had been decisively defeated. The war was over. Aftermath and legacy. Carthage surrendered under harsh terms. Its power was broken, its navy reduced, and its independence severely limited. Rome emerged as the dominant force in the Western Mediterranean. Hannibal, however, did not disappear. He returned to Carthage and reformed its political and financial systems, but Rome still feared him. Eventually, he went into exile and, rather than be captured, chose death. Yet his legacy endured. His battles are still studied. His strategies are still taught. His name remains synonymous with military genius. The paradox of Hannibal. Hannibal achieved what few ever have. He defeated Rome again and again. He marched where no army should have survived. He came closer than anyone to destroying the Roman Republic. And yet, he lost. His story reveals a deeper truth about history. Brilliant individuals can shape events, but lasting victory often depends on something larger: institutions, resources, and resilience. Hannibal proved that Rome could be beaten. But Rome proved it could not be broken. And in surviving him, Rome became something even more powerful. An empire that would dominate the Mediterranean for centuries. Hannibal didn't just fight Rome, he exposed its limits and made it stronger. And that's the real lesson. Some enemies don't destroy you, they transform you. If you enjoyed this, like and subscribe.